Once you turn 80, these 5 changes happen whether you like it or not. Signs of aging. When you reach 80, 5 profound shifts occur that will reshape your entire world. And the 5th one? It might be the most beautiful surprise of your entire life. If you're nearing 80 or have already crossed this threshold, you've likely noticed that life operates by completely different rules now. These aren't gradual changes that crept up over the years. These are distinct transformations that happen specifically at this age milestone. Some of these changes might catch you off guard. Others might initially concern you. But that 5th change I mentioned, it's going to revolutionize how you see this decade of your life. But before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss insights that could transform your perspective on aging. Welcome to Elder Soul Journal. I'm here to guide you through the realities of aging with honesty, hope, and practical wisdom. Today, we're exploring 5 universal changes that occur at 80. Changes that nobody warns you about, but everyone experiences. These aren't medical diagnoses or health problems to solve. They're natural life transitions that, when properly understood, can actually enhance your daily experience in ways you never imagined. In the next several minutes, you'll learn how your relationship with possessions completely transforms, why your emotional responses become more intense and meaningful, how your perspective on legacy and mortality shifts dramatically, what happens to your sense of independence and control, and most surprisingly, how your capacity for joy and wonder actually expands. Before we dive in, I'd love to know, are you approaching 80, already there, or watching this to better understand someone you care about? Your perspective enriches our entire community's understanding. Here's what most people don't realize. These 5 changes, when embraced rather than resisted, can make your 80s one of the most emotionally rich and purposeful decades you've ever lived. That 5th change especially will completely reframe what you thought you knew about aging. Let's begin. 1. Your relationship with material possessions undergoes a complete revolution. The first thing that happens at 80 is a dramatic shift in how you view and interact with your belongings. This isn't just about decluttering or downsizing. It's a complete psychological transformation in what objects mean to you. Suddenly, things that once felt important lose their significance entirely. That expensive watch, the china set you never used, the closet full of clothes, just in case. They begin to feel like burdens rather than treasures. But simultaneously, certain objects become profoundly meaningful in ways that surprise everyone around you. You'll find yourself treasuring a simple photograph over expensive jewelry, or feeling more attached to a worn cookbook than to furniture that cost thousands. This isn't about losing your faculties. It's about your brain finally distinguishing between what has genuine meaning and what was just accumulation. The science behind this is fascinating. At 80, your brain becomes less responsive to material acquisition, but more sensitive to emotional significance. You're literally rewired to value memories and connections over possessions. Let me tell you about Margaret, who at 81 shocked her family by giving away most of her valuable antiques. Her children were concerned she was being impulsive or making poor decisions. But Margaret explained something profound. I realized I was spending more time caring for these objects than they were caring for me. Instead, Margaret kept 3 things: her grandmother's simple wooden spoon, a photo album, and a quilt her sister made. These items sparked daily joy and connection, while the antiques had become sources of worry about damage, dust, and eventual disposition. Margaret used the energy she'd been spending on maintaining possessions to write letters to her grandchildren and tend a small herb garden. She reported feeling lighter and more purposeful than she had in years. Here's how to navigate this material transformation positively. First, trust your instincts about what feels meaningful versus burdensome. Your 80-year-old brain is actually better at making these distinctions than your younger self was. Second, consider the joy test. Does this item bring you daily pleasure, or does it create stress about maintenance, security, or disposal? Third, involve family in the process, but don't let their attachment to your possessions override your own feelings about what serves you now. The beautiful aspect of this change is that it often leads to a profound sense of freedom. When you stop being owned by your possessions, you have more mental and physical energy for what truly enriches your life. Many people at 80 describe feeling unshackled, free to focus on experiences, relationships, and daily pleasures, rather than managing and maintaining things that no longer align with who they've become. What changes have you noticed in your relationship with possessions? Have certain items become more meaningful while others lost their importance? Share your experience in the comments. This material transformation sets the stage for the second change, which affects something even more fundamental, your emotional world. If you found Margaret's story helpful, give this video a thumbs up. It helps us reach more people who need to hear this message. 2. Your emotional responses become more intense and selective. The second inevitable change at 80 involves your emotional life, and it's not what most people expect. While some assume emotional responses dull with age, the opposite often occurs. Your emotions become more intense, more immediate, and more selective about what deserves your emotional energy. At 80, you'll likely find that you cry more easily at beautiful music, touching stories, or moments of connection. But you'll also discover that petty annoyances that once upset you for hours now barely register. Your emotional system becomes highly calibrated to focus on what genuinely matters. This emotional intensification serves an important purpose. Your brain is prioritizing emotional experiences that enhance meaning and connection while filtering out those that waste your precious emotional resources. You might find yourself more moved by a grandchild's laugh than you ever were before, or more deeply affected by natural beauty, a sunset, blooming flowers, or bird songs. Simultaneously, you might feel completely unbothered by traffic jams, minor inconveniences, or other people's opinions of your choices. This isn't emotional instability. It's emotional wisdom. Your 80-year-old emotional system has learned to invest deeply in what enriches life and to quickly dismiss what doesn't. Consider the experience of Robert, now 83, a former business executive who was known for his emotional reserve. Robert was initially concerned when he found himself tearing up during his grandson's school play, something that would never have happened in his younger years. But Robert discovered something remarkable. These emotional responses weren't signs of weakness. They were signs of finally being able to fully experience the beauty and meaning that had always been there, but that his busy, guarded younger self had missed. Robert also noticed that situations that would have stressed him enormously in his 60s, like a rude clerk or a delayed appointment, now seemed almost amusing in their insignificance. His emotional energy was being conserved for what truly deserved it. Here are 4 ways to embrace this emotional evolution. First, don't apologize for emotional responses to beauty, connection, or meaning. These tears and feelings of awe are gifts of this life stage. Second, notice how your emotional energy is naturally being redirected away from trivial frustrations. Trust this process rather than forcing yourself to care about things that no longer seem important. Third, use your enhanced emotional sensitivity to deepen your most important relationships. Your increased capacity for emotional connection can enrich bonds with family and close friends. Fourth, seek out experiences that feed your heightened emotional responses. Music, nature, art, or meaningful conversations. The most beautiful aspect of this change is that many people report feeling more emotionally alive at 80 than they have in decades. When your emotional system focuses on what truly matters, every feeling becomes more vivid and meaningful. This emotional evolution connects directly to the third major change, which involves how you think about your life's impact and meaning. 3. Your perspective on legacy and mortality shifts from fear to purposeful action. The third transformation at 80 involves a complete reframing of how you think about legacy and mortality. This isn't about becoming morbid or fearful. It's about developing a practical, purposeful relationship with the reality of life's finite nature. At 80, most people experience what psychologists call mortality salience, a clear awareness of life's limits that, paradoxically, makes life more vivid and intentional. Instead of avoiding thoughts about death, you begin to use this awareness as a powerful tool for decision-making and priority setting. This shift manifests in several ways. You become more interested in sharing your knowledge, stories, and values with younger generations. You feel urgency about completing meaningful projects or having important conversations. You start thinking about how you want to be remembered, not out of vanity, but out of a desire to ensure your life's lessons aren't lost. Most importantly, you begin to see your daily choices through the lens of legacy. How you treat people, what you choose to focus on, and how you spend your energy all become conscious decisions about the mark you're leaving on the world. This isn't depressing. It's incredibly energizing. When you're clear about what you want your life to have meant, every day becomes an opportunity to live that meaning more fully. Let me share the story of Eleanor, who at 84 experienced this shift in a powerful way. Eleanor had always been someone who worried about the future, her children's careers, her grandchildren's education, financial security, and countless what-if scenarios. But at 84, Eleanor realized she was spending her limited energy on concerns she couldn't control, while neglecting the legacy she could actively create. She started a weekly tradition of cooking with her granddaughter, teaching family recipes, and sharing stories about their family history. Eleanor also began writing letters to each family member to be opened on significant future occasions: graduations, weddings, births. These weren't farewell letters, but wisdom letters, sharing insights she'd gained and hopes she held for them. The transformation was remarkable. Instead of anxiety about the future, Eleanor felt purposeful about the present. She was actively creating the legacy she wanted to leave, rather than worrying about what would happen after she was gone. Here's how to embrace this legacy perspective positively. First, identify the knowledge, values, or stories that are uniquely yours and consider how to share them meaningfully with others. Second, have conversations you've been postponing. Express appreciation, resolve old conflicts, or share important feelings with people who matter to you. Third, consider creating something tangible that reflects your values or experiences, whether it's writing, crafts, recordings, or organized photos with stories. Fourth, focus on how you want to be remembered in your daily interactions. Let that vision guide how you treat others and what you prioritize. The most powerful aspect of this change is that it transforms mortality from something to fear into something that gives life meaning and urgency. When you're conscious of life's finite nature, you stop wasting time on what doesn't matter and invest more deeply in what does. This legacy perspective prepares you for the fourth change, which involves a surprising shift in how you relate to independence and control. This is exactly why I created this channel, to help you navigate these transitions with wisdom. If you're getting value from this, please subscribe and share with someone who needs to hear this. Number 4, your relationship with independence and control evolves into strategic wisdom. The fourth change that happens at 80 involves a sophisticated evolution in how you think about independence and control. This isn't about losing autonomy. It's about developing strategic wisdom about when to maintain control and when to gracefully delegate or accept help. At 80, you'll likely discover that independence isn't an all-or-nothing proposition. Your brain becomes remarkably good at distinguishing between areas where maintaining control is crucial to your well-being and areas where accepting assistance actually enhances your quality of life. You might become fiercely protective of your decision-making autonomy while simultaneously becoming more willing to accept help with physical tasks. You might insist on managing your own finances while happily letting someone else handle home maintenance. This selective approach to independence is a sign of wisdom, not weakness. The key insight is that true independence at 80 means having the freedom to make choices about how you want to live, even if those choices include accepting help in certain areas. It's about maintaining control over what matters most while strategically releasing control over what doesn't. You'll also likely develop a more nuanced understanding of what control actually means. Rather than trying to control outcomes you can't influence, you become more focused on controlling your responses, your environment, and your daily choices. Consider the story of Frank, an 82-year-old retired mechanic who had always prided himself on complete self-reliance. When Frank's arthritis made certain home repairs difficult, his first instinct was to struggle through them alone, rather than ask for help. But Frank made an important realization. By spending hours on tasks that a younger person could complete in minutes, he was exhausting himself and missing opportunities to do things he genuinely enjoyed and was still excellent at, like mentoring young mechanics at the community college. Frank developed what he called his energy budget. He identified which tasks were worth his physical effort and which ones were better delegated. He hired help for heavy lifting and repetitive maintenance, but maintained complete control over his workshop, his daily routine, and his social commitments. The result was that Frank felt more independent than before, not less. By strategically accepting help with some things, he preserved his energy and autonomy for the areas that mattered most to him. Here are 4 strategies for evolving your relationship with independence. First, distinguish between tasks that are personally meaningful to you and those that are simply necessary. Protect your energy for what matters most. Second, recognize that accepting help in some areas can actually increase your independence in others. Strategic delegation preserves your resources for what you value most. Third, maintain control over your most important decisions. Where you live, how you spend your time, who you see, while being flexible about the methods for implementing those decisions. Fourth, develop clear communication about your preferences. When you're specific about what kind of help you want and don't want, you can maintain autonomy while still receiving support. The most liberating aspect of this change is realizing that independence at 80 is more sophisticated than independence at younger ages. You're not just maintaining control, you're exercising wisdom about where to invest your limited physical and emotional resources for maximum life satisfaction. This strategic approach to independence sets the stage for the 5th and most surprising change, one that might completely transform how you think about this decade of life. Now, if these first 4 changes seemed profound, wait until you hear about the 5th one. It's the game changer that ties everything together. 5. Your capacity for wonder, gratitude, and present moment joy expands dramatically. The 5th thing that happens at 80 is the most unexpected and perhaps the most beautiful. Your capacity for wonder, gratitude, and pure present moment joy often expands to levels you've never experienced before in your entire life. This isn't about becoming easily pleased or lowering your standards. It's about your brain becoming more attuned to beauty, meaning, and simple pleasures that your younger, busier mind might have overlooked. The neural pathways associated with appreciation and awe actually become more active and accessible. At 80, you might find yourself stopped in your tracks by the way morning light falls across your kitchen table, moved to tears by a piece of music you've heard hundreds of times, or filled with profound gratitude for a comfortable chair and a good cup of coffee. This enhanced capacity for joy serves a crucial psychological function. As physical capabilities may become more limited, your ability to find profound satisfaction in simple, accessible experiences dramatically increases. It's as if your brain compensates for what you can't do anymore by making what you can do infinitely more rewarding. You'll likely notice that small pleasures that once felt trivial now feel profound. A phone call from a friend, watching birds at your window, or the taste of your favorite food can generate levels of happiness that seem almost disproportionate, but are actually perfectly calibrated to this life stage. This isn't just pleasant. It's adaptive. Your 80-year-old brain is optimized to find deep satisfaction in experiences that are readily available and don't require extensive physical energy or resources. Let me tell you about Dorothy, who at 85 experienced this transformation in a way that amazed everyone who knew her. Dorothy had always been someone who focused on problems, what wasn't working, what needed to be fixed, what was disappointing about any situation. But at 85, Dorothy began to notice that her attention was naturally drawn to small, beautiful moments throughout each day. The way her cat stretched in a sunny spot, the sound of children playing outside her window, the satisfaction of completing a crossword puzzle. Dorothy started keeping what she called a wonder journal, writing down one thing each day that had sparked joy or gratitude. What started as an experiment became a transformative practice. Dorothy discovered that actively noticing these moments of beauty and satisfaction made them more frequent and more intense. Dorothy's family noticed the change immediately. She became more pleasant to be around, more optimistic in conversations, and seemed to have found a source of contentment that was independent of external circumstances. Here's how to cultivate and embrace this expanded capacity for joy. First, practice microgratitude, actively noticing and appreciating small positive moments throughout your day, from the comfort of your favorite chair to the taste of your morning beverage. Second, slow down enough to actually experience simple pleasures. When you eat something delicious, really taste it. When you see something beautiful, pause to fully absorb it. Third, seek out accessible sources of beauty and wonder. Music, nature views from your window, photographs, or simple crafts that engage your senses. Fourth, share these moments of joy with others. Describing what brings you happiness often amplifies the experience and creates connection. The most remarkable aspect of this change is that many people report feeling more consistently happy at 80 than they did in supposedly better decades of their lives. When your capacity for finding joy in simple, present-moment experiences expands, every day becomes rich with potential for satisfaction and wonder. This enhanced capacity for joy represents the culmination of all the other changes. The material detachment that frees you from possessions, the emotional selectivity that focuses on what matters, the legacy perspective that gives each day meaning, and the strategic independence that preserves your energy. All of these create the perfect conditions for this expansion of wonder and gratitude. Understanding these 5 changes transforms everything about how you approach this milestone. Instead of viewing 80 as a time of inevitable decline, you can recognize it as a period of profound specialization and potential fulfillment. Your relationship with possessions teaches you what truly has value. Your emotional evolution guides you toward what deserves your feelings. Your legacy awareness gives each day purposeful meaning. Your strategic independence preserves your autonomy while accepting wisdom. And your expanded capacity for joy makes every ordinary moment potentially extraordinary. When you work with these changes, rather than against them, your 80s can become a decade of unexpected richness. You're not becoming a diminished version of your younger self. You're becoming a specialized version optimized for depth, wisdom, and appreciation. The person who embraces their material freedom, trusts their emotional selectivity, acts on their legacy awareness, exercises strategic independence, and cultivates their enhanced capacity for wonder often discovers that life at 80 offers satisfactions that were impossible at any earlier age. This isn't about accepting limitations. It's about recognizing evolution. Your 80-year-old self isn't lesser than your younger self. It's different in profound and often superior ways. Which of these 5 changes surprised you most? If you're already experiencing them, which has been most positive for your daily life? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your experience helps our entire community understand the real possibilities of this life stage. If this perspective shifted how you think about turning 80, please share this video with someone who might benefit from this insight. And subscribe to Elder Soul Journal. We're building a community that celebrates the unique gifts of every life stage. Remember, your 80s aren't about managing decline. They're about mastering a completely new and potentially wonderful way of being human.